Hello, this is the TradeSite U.S. Stocks, Futures, and Forex Market Preview for the week beginning Sunday, April 2nd, 2023, ending Friday, April 7th. Can you believe we're in the second quarter already? Unbelievable. So the statements are printed for the quarter. Last week might have been one of the most unexciting trading weeks I've ever seen in my life. They walked it up on Friday a bit, but other than that, it was definitely one of the flattest weeks intraday. It's just unbelievable to watch. Hopefully, we don't see too much more of that. Should be a good time of year right now, and it just isn't. And with all the stuff going on in the world, it's hard to believe that we're this dead. Here's a look at the dollar index to start. Again, nothing new here. It's been sitting here since the beginning of the year. And Forex has been really flat, so I'm going to cruise through the Forex stuff. Here's the pound dollar, almost at highs, but again, same place it was at the start of the year, even before that. Euro dollar, same deal basically. Really haven't gone anywhere on these forex pairs, and the intraday action here is really poor. Here's the pound yen as well. Let's take a look at the stock side. Now you got the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the broad market futures form. Up this week, obviously, especially with Friday, but when you see the intra-week action in a few minutes, it's just not very interesting. We're dead in the middle of the last 8 months range, which is what this chart shows. Here's the S&P cash index also up on Friday. NASDAQ 100 new highs for the last, I don't know, almost back to September, I guess. Yeah, back into September. Again, with the update Friday, we have a 13 sell signal in place here, but that's been violated. At least the risk line's been violated. If we don't head back down tomorrow, that's broken. Russell 2000, a little bit more hurt. These are more affected by the banking issues, so it's up on Friday, but still in the lower half of the last 8 months range. Crude oil, which had gotten back down in the 60s, got all the way back to 75.67. To me, this suggests maybe that we're not going to get this recession. We're not seeing in the market yet any signs of a recession. That's what's interesting. I know there's a lot of people talking about it. Job growth is strong. The market's holding up. Usually the market falls apart 6 to 9 months before the recession hits. And even with all these banking issues and all the problems because of the war and the supply chain issues and the inflation and the Fed being stuck, we're just not seeing it yet. So far, so good. We'll see if that holds. Gold, if there is any sign of a problem, it's gold probably here, which is up near highs for the last however many months. All right, let's look at Bitcoin first of all, sitting up near 28,137. As I do this, obviously it trades around the clock. So this thing's been back up. It's doubled in the last 3 or 4 months. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF. Not much here, obviously. The VIX back down to 1870. This thing had spiked on those bank news when the SIV Bank fell apart, and here we are back into the teens again, which it's been a while, right? I mean, spent a little time there in January, but that's about it. Advanced decline ratio of the NASDAQ, the 10-day moving average is the orange line. It's obviously getting more positive. We had a positive week from that perspective. The trend closes pretty good, and the 10-day moving average sitting at 1.13. Now, we are going to drop a pretty big number, which was that day. We almost got the 3 off. But again, it's when the orange line, which is the 10-day moving average, goes under the blue line, which is 0.85, that we get worried about the market. We're not really there yet. Now, here's the problem. This was the intra-week action. As you can see, the far left is the prior Friday, but then, gap up small Monday, almost dead flat. Gap down small, almost dead flat. Gap up Wednesday, almost dead flat. Gap up Thursday, horrible. I mean, almost every day we closed where we opened and we didn't do anything until Friday where we finally gapped up and moved. So, this has just not been an interesting week, unfortunately, and it's really been quite a disappointment for us, obviously. And the NASDAQ 100, pretty much the same. A little more action here, but it's obviously a more pricey index, so it is what it is. In terms of some of the stocks we follow, Apple at highs for the year here, or at least the 8 months. Amazon creeping its way back up. Meta also on the rise. Google near highs again, despite some of the concerns over the AI stuff affecting their search. Goldman Sachs had fallen a bit, but now curling back up. Netflix back up, almost hitting a static trend line. Tesla also on the rise. NVIDIA has a 13 sell signal in place. It's still in place. Hasn't broke the risk line yet, but up on Friday anyways, and at highs, of course. And then Zoom crawling back up as well, making its way back up. So it's an interesting week for sure. I don't know what to say about some of it. It just seems odd. Such a flat intraday action every day, despite everything that's going on in the world. It seems very unusual. In terms of data coming out this week, um, particularly in the U.S. side, we've got Monday. We've got the final manufacturing PMI numbers around the world, and here in the U.S. And that's at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time for the U.S. one, and then ISM manufacturing and manufacturing prices, construction spending at 10 here in the U.S. Going into Tuesday, JOLTS job openings, factory orders at 10 is what it is there. Wednesday, ADP non-farm employment change number, that's at 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Trade balance, so we'll be half size for Forex ahead of Wednesday's trade balance number for both Canada and the U.S. And then final services PMI, ISM services PMI at 10. Crude oil inventories at 10:30. Challenger job cuts at 7:30 on Thursday a.m. Eastern Time. The weekly initial and continuing jobless claims numbers. Natty gas at 10:30. Australia and New Zealand go on a bank holiday for Friday. So does the rest of the world except for us. What bank holiday is that? Interesting. And then we've got our non-farm employment change and unemployment rates. So that's another one of our big three. On Friday here in the U.S., we'll be half size ahead of that. Oh, that's what it is. Next Sunday is Easter. Lost track of that. So that's why they're all on holiday. What we do here in the U.S. is we get the Monday off. So the week after this will be, let me make sure that's correct. No, that's not correct. We are closed on Friday, even though the unemployment rate number comes out on Friday. Interesting. That's going to be a mess. Okay. So it's a short week, 4-day week. Everybody enjoy that. And we'll be closed on Friday for Good Friday for the Easter weekend. And then a lot of the world is then closed the following Monday as well. We are not. So just be aware of how that goes. So everybody have a great week, 4-day week. Hopefully a little more excitement than what we saw this last week. And we will see what we see. Charts as usual brought to you by Ninja Trader. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading week.